It's working. Holy. Oh my god. Yep, audio seems to be going through. Good to see, good to hear, good to have. I hope everybody's having a great day. Yeah, that's about it. I've been allowed to stream more than once a week, so, I mean, hey, we got something going here. Yeah, that's about it though. Yeah, I'm just looking at wow, I have a lot of sources set up. Right. So, we're just gonna move. Parfait. Alright, so now I believe we have everything set up. Right? Everything going well. I just wanna have some fun. You got a box. You found a suspicious box in your room. Open it? Yes. Lidar exploit. It's the game! Congratulations! You found a case containing a mystical CD. Do you want to know what's on this disc? Yes. I already love the art style. I found another game made by the same developer. Are you sure you want to insert it into your computer? Yes. Forgot what it's called. What's on this disc? Start the game. We're so good at this. Guys, this is amazing. I can't believe it. Ooh, files. It's a lot. Oh man, what do you mean I got disconnected from chat? This game sucks. I have a problem. Why are there so many rats? Those aren't rats! Hello, and welcome to the Lidar Exploration Program. My name is Scanny, and I'll be your assistant. You will have to explore different locations and scan various objects. Well, let's not waste time and move on to the choosing level. Yo, what? Raccoons. Oh. I could turn off the audio. Sure. Yo, what did I just open up? Let's not do that. That would be very bad. What did it just yell at me for? Oh. Oh. Oh, what the? Yeah, and then we can widen it. Okay. Oh, in the corner. Okay. But then if we drag it up to 60, then we get to... Oh, okay, that's cool. And apparently there's like... Oh. Am I stuck on that? Oh, I am. What a beautiful plant. Open the map using tab. Whoa! What's that? I've located a tree. Alright, I think we just go max for right now. Get a general idea of what's going on. The game does look very cool. Yeah. Where am I going? Oh, I just, like, pissed all over that rock. Alright. So, 3D map. Holy. It's a big map. There's stuff everywhere. Got it. Okay. Ah, there's a stick. Collision's very weird. And the buzz, and like that little buzzy thing gets higher every single time. Alright, let's see. tree. Oh no, it's just a log. I love how that looks. It's constantly filling. Look at that. Oh, it's so trippy. It's like there's a flashlight. Alright. Where do I have to go? So we're in a forest. Alright. I mean, yeah, it's good. Everything turned blue. TTP. What is that? I don't know what that is. What is the TT? What is a TTP? First thing that came to my head was 2-point perspective, but that's not right. And then again, that lets you draw people. Oh yeah, you just. I'm glad that was. Yeah, I'm glad this was the drawing that got me to 1,000,000 dots. What? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Gallo. Welcome in. How's your day going? Or night? Day? Night? I don't know. You're like European or something. It's 3 a.m. How's your day going? Where am I? Somewhere. Good to know. Is that a bench? Le bench. Le bright. Reminds me of Power Washing Simulator. I want to oh my god. Glow. It's so fun though, because you hit like you do something like this, right? If you set it to your max size and then you just let it go. Ah, my eye. You just let it go. The game looks, yeah, the game is very cool. So, oh my god, that actually looks so weird. But yeah, like you do this and then boom, you get. Is there a sky? Is there a? Do we have a god? Does God? It's the ultra kill question right there. Is God? Does God still exist? All the infrared light. Okay, so those are. Does it go higher up here? It does. How about up here? Nope. I'm your god. Whoa. I don't want to be worshipping. What are you, Scottish or something? Yeah. No, the Scottish are pretty cool. They're very based. Ooh, leaves. For the first time in forever, I can finally understand. Why am I allergic to nature? It's like we go hand in hand. Dude, I love eating rocks. Eating rocks is like one of the best things that you can do, because they taste so good. Is that weird? Like, I can't be the only one that eats rocks, right? That's... Okay, so there's something over there. Whoa. It's just general. Generalized. It's a very large forest, though. I love the colors. Everything. The farther away an object is, what are cattails doing? There's no water. Cattails. I don't think. I'm pretty sure scientifically they would not be able to grow here. And I think these are just weeds. Yeah, these are. What do I not know? See, now I got. Now I have frozen stuck in my head. Bridge. Yo. That many trees, some of the other weeds around the ground must be very. Yeah. That makes. Oh, nope, there's water right here. Okay, so. I don't like that. I don't know what that is. And I don't like this tree. Oh. It's not a dangerous bridge. I thought it was dangerous. Because it changed colors. I like that you can bunny hop, though. I don't know why. That'd be a useful skill, but, oh, you can walk on the water. It's over here. I remember seeing clips of this game, and then there was like a Lidar, and there was like a monster or something. And, yep, I don't like that. Nope, we're leaving. I hear heartbeats. I just don't like that baseline. It's a gay bridge. You couldn't eat the mushroom? No. What mushroom? What is that? Oh my gosh, it's a materialized bridge that I could have passed over. What is this? What is this? Is it a boat? Oh, it's not a forest, it's a swamp. I know what these are. Like, you sit right here as, like, some dude in, like, a third world country comes over here and, like, he pilots the boat. Am I stuck? No, I'm not. So the game is so this is this game, every is invisible and you put dots on the ground to give things shape. Yeah, basically, everything's dark, and then this little dot machine gives us shape and definition to everything. Right, okay, so here's the plan. Objects. Congratulations! You just scanned your first object! Yay, clappies. Where's Dev? We need the clappy. Can I not get in through here? What are we looking at? We're looking at inside. What are we looking at outside? I cannot grasp. It's just one solid color. How's my cult going? What do you mean my cult? I don't have a cult. Ruined temple. Ah. That makes much sense now. Oh, you mean V-Free. It's not a cult. It's just a group of, it's a very large group of VTubers who come together and show support for everybody. That's about it. We help each other out. The people that know more help out those that don't. And yeah, that's basically it. It's not a cult. Dude, I'm gonna be so Farouk, like, on Garbanzo. Like, on literally on my finest garbanzo beans, so it is not a cold. Is this the paid version of this game? Hey Eggs, how's it going? Probably. I don't know. I was on Steam one time. This is Peppered Eggs, the very chill, very cool mod of Paprika Cheers. He appears every once in a while. I don't know. Um, Game's pretty fun though. I got scared by absolutely nothing, so. What the? Now that's a tree. You got the free one. Doc, how do you have? Also, Eggs, I have a question for you. How big is your wish list? I looked at it just like the other day. Why is it so big? Why can I not get to the bottom of it? Literally can't find the bottom of your wish list. Did I? Do I know it's a horror game? Yeah, I've seen like one clip of this game, and that's it. Deviled eggs. Arches. Strange arch. Where do I go now? Got the temple, we got the arch. Ooh, I like how this looks. Very cool. I'm gonna be so honest. I don't know where the horror starts, but I don't know if I want. It's like it's funny thing. It's like what time is it? It's 7, and I feel like I might end up going till like 9 or 10. For being a quitter and not reaching the bottom. Nah. Okay, no, to be fair, I thought that it wouldn't end. I did eventually reach the bottom. Like, I was just looking at all the games you had. And also, what was it? There was that one frog game. That one game where you're like a goofy bipedal frog. I remember watching one of my favorite YouTubers play that like such a long time ago. God, that was brought back memories. Mine's I think 204 exactly. Ooh, running water. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. What do you mean you need to expand it? Dog, it took forever to find the bottom of yours. I can get to the bottom of mine. You have like 1,000 different games on there. I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't clutter my wish list because then I'll never like buy anything. But no. It's a maze trying to get through yours. What is this? Windmill. Oh yeah, no, I know it's 9 for you. Hey, oh yeah, by the way, have you gotten paid by Pep yet? Apparently that's a thing. Actually, you getting paid, that's not a thing, but... Where am I? Alright, I think we keep going this way. Or should have happened already? Well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm very good at avoiding the bad things. Dude, this is like the first level. I don't know what we're looking for. Wait, I gotta get the... Either I'm incompetent or lost. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think if anything, I'm just both. Ooh, hut. I don't like that I can get stuck on just about everything. Ooh. Is there an entrance to the hut? There is no entrance to the hut. Let's see. What does the hut look like? Ooh, it's a nice hut. Yo, okay. Not Pepsi, you gotta be lost. Crazy. Let's not tell Pep, right? Secret between me and you. Ooh, house. Let me be free. I think I might be lost. I did find that other thing, though. Where's the door to this house? Oh, it's a water leak. Where's the door? Is this the door? I think it is. But there's no inside. So there's a deer. Where am I going? So there's one over there. Let me go to that one first. Located. I don't like the ambient. Yo. Yo. Yo, you don't see me. What? Where's the next closest object? I don't like that. I... I've been playing a few horror games of late, dude. I don't like this. The thing moved. I don't like that. Ew. Get away. What happened here? Ooh, that's not... That's... Is this a park? Okay, it hasn't moved. Someone... Create 5 million dots. Alban Peak. I mean, hey, yeah, at least I can move. It's a gazebo. Ah, gazebo, gazebo. I don't like the deer skeleton. Why did it immediately? I found the goose. Hit an achievement. Find the goose. Oh, I got scared by my own footsteps. This is not good already. Got one thing, and I'm already terrified of everything. All it took was a skeleton. I'm either facing someone that can TP at will, or it's stuck in an office of sorts. I think it can teleport. Me personally, I think it's able to teleport. Is this a tree? It is a tree. I really don't like how your heart beats, like, even faster every time. Literally every time you get near a scannable object, it's just, your heart just starts beating faster, and it makes me so uncomfortable. I actually just hate it. Alright, where are we? That damn deer still hasn't moved, thank God. There's the walls of this enclosure. Ooh, monolith. Nope, that looks like a portal. I'm gonna scan this, and then it's gonna, like, kill me or something. That is very cool. I love the way they did the map. Okay, now to head that way. DEF, it's Lidar Exploration Program. That's the name of the game. I have a Lidar gun, and it's, I'm on an exploration program. I gotta find out who my... Move! I'm stuck! I feel like you could very easily get soft-locked in this game. Wait. Ew, what's that squishy sound? I found the pond. Zestia game. Going. Why does it just turn pure white? No longer the Teal Lotus, it is pure white. There's an upcoming horror game that I've been dying for. Expect release since December. Oh yeah, I might, dude. I was also looking at one of the new the Fragmented Minds. It came out, I think, like a month and a half ago or something like that. I bought it. It's mine now. I just need to figure out when to play it. The amount of dots that I've placed, yes. And then the white number shows the size of my scanner. Last thing. Why is it so small? Look at the map so far. It's beautiful. Mystic Tree, Ancient Artifact. We have the Strange Arch, a ruined temple, and then a very scary deer skeleton. It moved when I scanned it. I didn't like that. It was very scary. These are mangroves. Is there something inside of this? I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. Get me out of here. Ooh, Ooh, I don't like this. I really don't like this. If this dude moves, I'm actually just gonna pass away. Stream ending. Let me be free. What am I stuck on? Absolutely nothing? Thank you. I love this game. Dude, the terrain mapping in this game goes crazy. Invade? Shut up. Shut up. The door opened on its own. It wasn't my fault. I didn't know it was a person, and now I'm scared. I'm absolutely terrified. Dude, that's not even a cave. He's just in an outhouse in the middle of somewhere. Oh, why was that so scary? It was the first level. Animals found. There's more animals to find? I just placed 6 million dots. Oh, what is detail scanning? I found a goose. I found a goose, though. This dude is very fun to find. Island time, island boy. I need to stop. Yeah. No, I was looking at it. The stupid SCP games, they're very fun. It's just, I don't know if I'm, like, what I'm actually gonna do with it. A general idea of what's going on. I kind of like 36. Does the world just end over here? It looks like it. I hate to break it. I don't. Oh, interesting. Dude, I don't know. How many calories do you think Scanny has? Detailed scan my beloved show. I'm so concerned. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do this. What is that? Oh, you can actually go in the water here. Oh, you can still move? There's a thing up there? Oh, that was terrifying. I'm sorry, what did that say? What did that say? Ah! Up. Oh, it's a lighthouse. Oh, and there's a thing like... Is it really directly over... Oh my god, it is. I don't like this. I do not like this. I really do not... Ew. Is that the world border? Oh my god, it is. I found the end of the world. I guess that means that I'm on top of it. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, hey! Yippee! I am not a fish in a bird cage. I found the lighthouse. Guys, is German a peak language to learn? Be real. It's gonna be so much fun. Dead pixel on the monitor. Just actively right there. I'm so glad it showed up now, of all times. It's really gonna be so much fun to do. Skeleton. I swear to god, if you move, I will kill myself. German is the best. I don't like that. What is that? Is it SpongeBob me boy? Okay. Brother's just disappearing. Alright. What am I standing on? What am I stuck on? There was a singular dip in the ground. 'Cause I'm on top of the world. Hey! Can I jump? If I jump, do I die? I go blub 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 blub. Blub 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 blub. Blub 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 blub. Where are we heading to? Back over here? That's right, I can also sprint. Palm tree. We got plenty of those here. Piss mode? What do you mean piss mode? Found a shop. I don't know what the shop is. Ooh, this is like, Sons of the Forest. You find the camps, and stuff happens. And then you get scared, because you're like, what is going on in these camps? Oh, there is a thing out in the water. Oh, let's get a big ol' scan of it, right? Kaboom! Oh my god. It's... Wait, let me get back over here real quick. It's the store page image of the Lidar exploration. Food. Cool.
It's yours.
Oh, thanks.
That's how I gotta get you a work.
That is true. What is this thing called so far? Something. Skeleton of some creature. Not concerning. Not in the slightest. Thank you. I have been delivered food. Good food. Very good food. Nom nom. Found the dinosaur. Onward. So, deft question, right? How come you didn't vote for the nose? I thought you liked the nose. I, what is that? Oh, that's the rock again. We gonna head out? Good to see you, eggs. I will still be here. What am I looking at? Do you want me to scam? Yo, so. Oh, it wants me to scan the thing right here. It's like that one spotted Joshua tree. Skull rock, that's what it was. She made a mic. That's right, you're smart at that stuff. Guys, go follow Eggs, he's very cool. He does smart people things. There seems to be a tree in my way. What is up with that tree? Yo, that's not a normal tree. What is going on with that tree? And then over here, pirate ship. Expecting silly, goofy, than scary. I don't know when the scary is. I'm gonna be so honest. I don't know what the scary is either. Is this another rock? Peter Pan? Oh no, it's a big treasure chest. Wait, can I just... It's not really scanned, it's just... Ooh, ambience. Are there animals here as well? I want to know. Because I remember the last time it was like 1 out of 3 animals found. But what? Like the Pokemon line? I don't know what to be wary of. I don't like that. There were 6 objects here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess there were. Onwards. We play more. We play on. Where's my exit? Good to know. Time to run. Alright. Can I? Oh. I don't like that. I really do not. Why is there a ledge? And kaboom. Castaway Explorer. Complete the island. Clappy. No animals found. No, very short distance, and 48 detail scans. Alright. So we go to the menu. Controls. Detail scanning. Open map. Bat? What? Modification panel? What does that mean? What? What? What does modification panel mean? Ow. Took Chipotle or something. I have a bowl of beans and rice and vegetables and chicken. Very good meal. kill scan. Ah! It's a thing. Alright. Oh, this map is big. Oh. Oh, that's... Which one's closest? 42, 70, 43. I think we'll just keep going here. Onward. Oh, straight over here. 2, 3. Wait a minute. So if I just... What if I just... Like... What? What? Wait. Wait. No. 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 Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. Uh-uh. No. Nuh-uh. I don't like that. Why? Does it just have a chance of saying that? The last time I did that, it showed something. No, I don't like this. I don't like this game anymore. What is it trying to... I don't like how it looks like it was trying to write something. I really don't. That... Yeah. I saw that too. I think I scanned it over too quick, though. Oh, I don't like that. I really, really don't. You know, see, that's normal, but then, like, I do it again. Right? Yeah, it's normal. What? Yo, alright. What? I do not like that. I found an octopus. Look at him. Yes, this is friend. Octopus, be friend now. Do I have to make you like bright or something? Alright, I got you. Perfect. He's gonna be nice and shiny. The brightest brain around. This doesn't pass. This doesn't. Dog. Do I gotta touch you or something? Why are you just not working? I thought you were supposed to be my friend. Alright. Sure, let's just not. That looks so weird. Boom. Next one's right over there. I put dots on you, please respond. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dude, I make you, I birth you into existence, and yet you don't say anything? What's wrong with you? Let's get a general idea right here. Nothing. What is this? Strange sea snake. It's a snail. Look at him. What a glorious snail. Alright. Monkey. So that's a shipment container. was that? Controls. E to bat, N for modification panels. Maybe I don't have access to those yet. What's going on? What is going on? Where do I go next? Ooh, over this way. What are you? Oil rig? Oil. No, not oil. What are you? It's just a rock? I think it's just a... I don't... Is that a sea mine? Looks like it might be a sea mine. And the map just looks so cool from over here. I still can't tell. I think it is a sea mine. Yeah, it's a naval mine. I knew it. Oh, wait. If that's the size of a building, why is the naval mine so big? They are not that big. I promise you. Let's go this way. Big ship? Sure. What kind of big ship, though? A solid color and then white. It's not governed at all yet. Okay. So here and then about, I think it's like that. 10 million dots. Oh, that's actually tanking my performance. Okay, wait a minute. That's a bad idea. Gas station, right? What's the price? Got it. Doesn't say. There's 30 meters this way. We have something. Friend. Coral. Dinosaur skull. Oh, it's a big dinosaur. Or is it a dinosaur? I can't tell. No. It's not a dinosaur. Is it? Water something. Ooh, whoa. Hands. I can't get past them. There's another thing right here. I don't think so. There's... That's a wall. Alright, thanks. Wait a minute. Something doesn't look right. What is this? Is that a school bus? Are you a Pachycephalo? Pterodon. Whale skeleton. Ooh. Snail is huge. Yeah. If that... No. Wait, no. It said it's a strange sea snail. Therefore, I am actually much tiny. It's just a lot larger. Sea deft. I'm not short, I promise. I'm not short, it's just that everything is big. And there's a Ferris wheel. Still moving. Good to know. So I would assume, yeah. It's just gonna make a ring. Julio. Oh. We found the Ferris wheel. Oh, is this an amusement park? Because that's the type of whale skeleton. I feel like that's the type of whale skeleton you would let kids play in. Where to go? Where to go? Where to go? Back this way. There's another two up that way. What am I stuck on? Yeah, so there's a naval mine, a snail, chained building. The chains are that big. Oh, why is it so bright? Is that a well? Well, the world-renowned sea theme park with a dead whale in the entrance. Yeah. Have you never been there? What do they call it? Like Aquatica or something. They let kids play there in the dead whale carcass, and it's a lot of fun. Big rock, big mumbo. What am I stuck on again? These tiny little like grazes in the map are throwing me off because then I get stuck on something. And I'm like, what is it this time? And then it's just like a little hump on the wall, and I'm like, what? Why am I getting stuck on this? What is that? Ruined building. Ah, I gotta go this way. No, I can't. Ah, I gotta go this way. Pirate ship. Wait, I wanna do the thing again. Oh, that's a big... It's like the Titanic. Sunken vessel. And there's audio in my ears that I do not enjoy. How big is this? And there's still one way back. Ooh, I do not like that. No! Let me be free. Alright, 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 alright. I do not like... when is the scary parts? You know what I'm saying? Because, like, I swear there was... I thought there was a point to... I thought there was a scary. Or is it just not? Dots jump scare? Kind of. Oh, is that what the bat was for? Like, do I get to bash the head of... Like, do I have... Is that why I get a bat later on? And it also said control panel, so... Where am I? I'm lost. Chilling in the sunken depths where absolutely nothing makes sense. Oh. Oh no. Hello, good sir. Yo, 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 don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me. Like, I'm gonna create a wall between us. So that you can... Where am I? Ooh, I don't like that. I do not like that. Why does it always have to be so... Why is it red? Why is it red as well? I don't like that. Get me out, get me out, get me out, get me out. You can't see me anymore. I feel like it's gonna start chasing me. I don't like that. Where's the exit? Where is the exit? Oh, it's right there. Thank God. I'll find the animals later. I don't like... Badung. Explore the sunken city. Oh, I guess I did find an animal. I guess the octopus counted. Yeah, I found the animal. Octopus. Mmm. Suburbs. Nom, nom. Okay. The light has been turned on. It's not scary. Never mind. Oh, it's all red. I don't. Bats are now available to you. Press D to use them. Are they bombs? Oh, they're scouts. All I wonder is what's over there. Uh. Oh, I don't. No, 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 let me out. What is that? What is? Oh, let me out, let me out, let me out. I don't want to be here. That's scary. Playground. Playground. That's not so scary. I already really just don't like. Okay, what are we looking at here? There's another one over there. What is that? Come witness the wreckage at dawn. I very much so dislike the heartbeat. Is that a construction crane? Oh no, it's a poster. Oh, it's a plane! It's a plane with an advertisement. Send the birds. Is that a cow? Oh, that's cool. Okay. Nope. 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 No. 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 What do you mean? Is it me? Yes, that's me. I don't like. Nope. I'm turning the lights off. I'm gonna make this work for myself. Yep. Oh god, that's even. I don't like that. Oh no. No, I don't like this. I was looking at that, and I'm like, what is that? And then I realized, oh, it's me. I really don't like that. Why do they do that? Airplane with advertising. The fact that there's like a very slight static coming from my headphones is making this even worse. Because I get an occasional like from my headphones. Oh, oh, ooh, that's not, no. I really don't like that. Ooh, what do you mean is it me? What is that in the side? It's an electrical tower. Found a very large rubber duck. Actually, no. I don't like that everything is so close together. I still haven't done the balloon. Let me go back and do that. I know what it is. Epic cameo? No, not epic cameo. I don't. Big rubber duck. Deft, what do you think? Ew. Don't ever do that again. Oh, it's one of those things that they bury rich people in. It makes no. I don't. It's a big rubber duck. What? Why? Why do I see ley lines connecting everything? Oh no, they're not ley lines. They're just. Where do I go now? Ooh, that way. It's an observatory. This I actually know. Observatories are really cool. I got to go inside of one time. I hiked to the top of a hill, and then I got to look at stuff through a telescope. Yeah. Observatory, crypt, it's all coming together. And then I assume I get to leave now. I'm stuck in a plant. Oh, why is it all the way back there? Oh my god, just remember, the moss grows on the north side of the trees. And he is green, look at him. We finished the suburb. If needed, then I'll go back and find the thing. Clap. If we finish this too fast, and then I'll go back and find all the animals. But at the same time, I really don't want to deal with the really creepy things again. I got a good dinner. Dinner's pretty good. Alright. So we're looking at the desert here. Alright. Okay, so we've already got something standing over there. I already like how colorful it is. And there's tracks. I wonder where they go. Oh, and there's unique audio for everything. Bird. Alright, we go up. Oh shoot, a train. It's the last train out of Wormtown. What was that game? Yeah, the last train. I can't English. The last train out of Wormtown. I just keep spamming birds. Can I get it? And I've been caught. Perfect. Uh... when's the scary part? I wanna know. And there's already heartbeats. That's the one thing that I don't like. Right, the game's great. Good game. Very good. It's a locomotive. Isto. Who did this to you? Oh my god, it actually made train sounds. Okay, so I can just throw them out like this and scan. There's a cage. Why are there dinosaurs on every level? What is... Actually, no, wait, what is this? Sonorosaur. Skeleton of some creature. We don't know what it is. It's some creature, though. Because there was a deer skeleton on the first one. This game just loves the skeletons, then. So we've cleared out this corner. And I'm stuck on the ground again. Alright. This point is time to... just gonna rack up points in color. Walk 5 kilometers? I bet someone knows how to make art with this game. That would be fun. I'm not gonna learn, though. It takes too much time. What are the cages for? They look like the... what is it? I remember, back where I used to live, like the very first... where I was born. There was a playground over by... where they, like, kept and trained horses, like, horse racing and all that. And there was just, like, a dome. It was just a metal dome, and it was so much fun to play in. What is this object? Ancient Golem Hand. Ancient Gear Golem from Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't like that archetype. It really is annoying. The Haunts Dome? I think they kept Haunts there. No, I know they kept them in, like, a different area, but they didn't put Haunts in the dome. Other thing. Bird! Second bird! Oh, what the... Big cactus. See, this is what big cactus isn't. This is what big cactus is trying to hide from you. An even bigger cactus. Big. Oh my god, it's actually just called big cactus. Look at me, I'm so intelligent. That is not 6 meters away. That is not 8 meters away. Yeah, 6.8 meters. If that's 9.4, how's it 6.8? It's all the way over there. We have a house. I think this is a Haunts Dome. Look at it. That's a Haunts Dome right there. Oh no, it's a little spot where like they kept, like there was an area farther away from it, but it was still relatively close where they trained the horses. They didn't keep them in metal domes. It was at a playground meant for children. Bird. Oh, it's an Ocotillo plant. I love these things. You see them so much around the Joshua Tree and other deserty regions. There's also that one red plant. I forgot what it was called. It's not an Ocotillo, but it's got red bark and like these very nice, very like pine green leaves. And the thing about it is that they can actually cut off all the water supply to like any of their limbs in order to keep the main body alive. It's a plane. Okay. So we're gonna be a survivor in this one as well. I didn't get that one yet. Oh my god, are you kidding? Can I clear from here? Thank god. I found another Hans cage. Oh yeah, I got it. I got it on the inside. Now we can see what the inside looks like. Onward, what is that? And I'm stuck on a cactus. What is? Explain to me. Oh, is it just a well? Yeah, I think it is just a well. Yeah. Mm-mm. One more go. Wait, what am I scanning? SpongeBob reference? So it is this. It's like the Dune sandworm. Oh my god, it is. Look at him. Bro, it's just a tube. Oh, it actually is a sandworm. That's its scientific name is sandworm. Where's the exit? I did. What? Exit? Hello? Oh. I feel like I should disable that setting, but at the same time, probably not. I don't know, it's kind of useful. Should I do work on another thing? There's the exit. Yeah, we'll do animal hunting once we complete all the levels. Okay, customization panel? Kind of excited. I don't know what that means. Oh. Mm-hmm. I don't know how excited I am anymore. Oh. Access to the customization panel. Press N to open it. Here, you can change the scanner pattern and laser color. You can also create your own custom pattern. Experiment. Patterns for detailed scan. You can just make it solid. So I would assume the smiley faces. Oh my god. Yep. Alright. Detail scan. Smiley face. What does this one look like? Ah. Oh, who would want this? Actually, who would want this? Now, let me go into a different area. Oh, this one. Nope. 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 What about the grain? I guess that's better, but no. Custom. Load image. Ooh. Damn. Okay, wait a minute, wait a minute. Clear the canvas. Does it just... I need to know. I need to know. Okay. Guys, if you look at it from a certain angle, it creates something special. This is dumb. Comedy achieved. Okay. Game. Let's not type in limericks. Come on. I hate that. It says something, but I don't know what it said because I had a stupid thing on. And I'm actually... I don't like that. Ew. I really don't. So I assume I slowly just keep going through the cavern. Crystal. It shouldn't be too hard to find animals in this one, right? Ooh, shrooms. It's just one long cave. I think. I don't... It, like, every so often, it just shows another message, and I... Okay, nope, we need to fix that. Why is it on the smiley face? There we go. That works much, much better. Now this way I have like a very... It's like having a window into the world. I don't... Something about the cave is very ominous. I'm just gonna say it now. That's right, Oh! Oh, it's like dropping a... It's like dropping a... What do you call it? Like a torch into a pit. It shows you everything. Speaking actual gibberish to me. Oh, I missed one back there. Let me go back. Or did I? Yeah, I think I missed one. Yeah. I love, yep. Isn't there a multiplayer version of this as well? I think I remember seeing a multiplayer version at some point. They have a griffin. It's a dragon. Why would they keep you chained up here? No, it's a dragon. Look at him. He's majestic. He's got spines. They're just keeping him here. I can't believe they do this. Here, let me light up your cave. Let me let you see. You are now seen. Peter. I'm so glad I have not seen a Family Guy clip in the past, like, year. Oh my god, it feels so nice. I'm no longer on the brain rot side of everything. It's... Basically, back when, like, it was, like, uber popularized, I basically just kept pressing a thumbs down on, like, everything. Because I use YouTube, mostly. So I just pressed thumbs down on, like, everything, and it just worked. They realize you don't like your they don't like... No. The algorithm realizes that you don't enjoy Family Guy content, so it stops showing you Family Guy content. I found this spider. Hey. I found this spider. Hello. Have a bird. Sure, willpower. I found this spider. Deft. What do you think of the friend? Look at him, he's glowing right there. A building. Just up. Yeah, I don't know if it beats Dragon, but I mean, it's Booter, so... It's Booter, man. Let's see. It's a very small, very fun house. Look at that. Look at it. Okay, the lantern has to be bright, right? I feel like that's... I feel like the lantern being bright is kind of a must. Right, there we go, bright lantern. Bright-ish pole. I can't. Okay, so we've already found 2, so which means that I probably won't have to go to this level. Hopefully, even though this is a cool level, I like it. I just don't like the cave aspect of it. I don't want to be a miner squared. Is the real concern. Boss fight arena. That would be very cool. A boss fight in this game. Imagine if they added boss fights, like multiplayer expansion, your bats now explode. So there's nothing up there, we just searched that. There's 1, 2, there's more. Oh no. If I have to go all the way back for one of them, I'm gonna be so mad. Where am I going? Am I stuck? I'm stuck. I'm no longer stuck. Big statue. It's an angel. Oh, it's an angel. Yeah. Yeah. It's not going up. How do I get out? Up here, up here. Can I get out, please? Thank you. Onwards. 3 million dots. It is just so cool. So I believe that's the end to that zone. Hope there wasn't a fish or, like... If there was a singular fish there, I'm gonna be so mad. We found the third animal. We found bat. We found previous bat friend. Oh my god, RGB water. Oh my god, we found RGB water. It's the gamer girl bath water. I cannot believe it. And it's another tree. Trying to hit this with a little bit of manual action. Ah! That is increasingly more painful to my eyes. What are you? Ancient tree. And then there was the junction. And then we go up there, and then I assume there's another way to head that way. We found all three. Yep, just all three. All three of what? I don't know, couldn't tell you. No. It is quite dark. Was there really no way to get over there? Or was there an entrance that I just missed? I don't see an entrance. Nendoroid. Another tree. And it's another mangrove. Okay. Hi. So that is the way to that one. I think we go for the one above first. Oh my god, Luigi's. This dude is on VR chat. Let's go crazy. Alright. Another tree. It is not. It's just a mushroom. This game has disappointed me. Lord of the Bats. That's me. All of Dragonkind knows how to use bats. Or am I Lord of the Flies? Oh, what's wrong with me? -2. I don't know what that entails. I did make a very cringeworthy joke. No, my boy. Not the dragon carcass. I get you full scan, buddy. What do you mean cave creature? That's a dragon. Maybe a worm, but that's... Dude, where's the exit? Where does that even say? How does one get over there? Is it over this way? Okay. How does one make it over? Oh. Speleologist. I didn't find 3. Oh, that's right, because one of them was an objective. We found 2 out of the 3 animals. There's one more. And then it's on to just 100%ing. Onward. It's like the famous future film, Alien. Or there's an alien on your spaceship instead of an alien. Actually, what are the achievements? Animal tracker. Find 10 animals. Detailed scan, walk, find all of them. Complete any level with less than 20,000 dots. Or 200,000. How do you even do that? Okay. So 171. So each normal scan is like 23,000. Is that even possible? Object scanned. No, what do you, it's really descriptive when it tells me it's a spherical structure. It really helps me out. I'm pretty sure each one takes like at least 50,000 dots. I don't know what it's talking about when it says complete it in less than 200. It's gonna be like the one thing that I'm constantly trying to do, and then just never can. Oh, the first one only has like 3 objectives though, right? where to go now? Actually, can I even go farther? What is that? Unknown structure. I think we have to go back. Right, I don't think we can go forward here. Oh no, I guess we can. What is this? Am I a part of this creation? What is that? Launching pad. All of this. Oh. Is that a moose? No, it's a tree. And that's a satellite dish. Oh. What does that do? Hey. Where to go next? The one thing about this game that I do enjoy is the fact that it all loops. You go one way, it's not like you can't go anywhere else, right? Unless it's that cave level. If it's that cave level, then, well, I don't really know what to tell you. Each click is about 300. It's another monolith. There are 2 more artifacts. I haven't found any animals. It's another guy. Don't kill me. Astronaut. Yo, calm down, calm down. Is he just gone? Will he float away about the time we leave? I really do want to. Bip bop bip bop bip. Oh, it's like Willy Wonka. Why did that remind me of that? I don't know. Where's last place? Last place is the center, and then I assume we'd have to run more inwards, maybe? What did I just do? I walked inside a place that has no exit. So, back when I said... Oh, I just went full circle. Don't Don't pull a pippa, as they say. 100% scanned, and then over here there's one more object. Nope, it's over this way. There you are. And it's another tree. Let's get up top. Ugh. Big alien tree. See, I was right. Portals were right over here. Portal. It's right over there. Oh my god, he's still floating. What happened to him? Yeah, he's still floating. Found it. Complete the alien planet. Not bad. I didn't actually... I barely broke 1,000,000 dots that time. I love... But the frizz? No way! Cruising down on Main Street. Da, da, da. I've been watching a lot of Magic School Bus recently because of my biology class. That show is so... That show is unironically so peak. Okay, what am I looking at here? It is a singular... You've never seen the Magic School Bus? You gotta be lying. Everybody's seen the Magic School Bus. What the frizz? Oh, please let this be a normal field trip. What the frizz? No way! Cruising down on Main Street. Is the Magic School Bus music copyrighted? Can I play that? Right, like, if I wanted to, could I? Here's how this is gonna work, right? We're gonna... It's so far away. We're gonna complete this in under 200,000 dots. For that sweet, sweet achievement. So we get to the final grounded dot, then yep, that makes sense. So then we go around, tap it again. There's always so information. They made it fun too. I think it's the best part. It's like they always kept it entertaining. We've got 180. We got 140,000 dots left. See, because by going extra wide, like if I were to only do something like that, then it codes just what's in front of me. But if we do the wide, then we know exactly how far away certain items are. We're getting close because I can hear the heart beating. Dum dum So, what do they call that? No, it's like uber large, but yo. I don't think we're getting this one in under 100. Ooh. I don't know about this one. Why is he getting so violent? Yo. Calm down. It wasn't that serious. Why is it so violent? Violante. It's glowing all sorts of colors. Thing just explodes. Actually looks... Yo, what? It just ends like that? I did not kill somebody. That was not me. Bam. Is there hard mode now? Oh my god, it's the door. What is this? Oh. Causing chord drones and melodies by Jeremy Blake. Ambient sounds by Sounds account. 3D models. Very fun. That will not be all. All along, no way. Yeah. Should I? Right? Should I play his other game? He has another game. Called a Red Finger. It's like a white knuckle, but you're in an elevator. I don't say it's inspired by white knuckle. Should we play it? So I'm sorry. What is that statistic? One goose out of what? If I continue, what happens now? Red Finger and White Knuckle band together to make Orange Hand. Found the bat here. Found the deer over here. Found a goose. Oh, there must be a hidden goose on each level then. Time to go goose hunting. I think... How long have I been going now? If I can find the goose on this one. Detailed scan. Okay, I can still use my bats. Oh, wait, I've just now realized. Okay. So, if I go with this thing... Okay, wait, I think I just realized. Because this way it lets me map out items. Like it lets me scan while using less area. Because the other one uses like a bunch, and this one is about 95% less. Welcome to the magic school bus. Except if it yells at me or something, then sure. Can the game not though with like all the weird things? Alright. Where's my dog? Oh no, she's outside. I guess I am alone. So, not fun. That's just, I really don't like that. Apparently I'm not alone. Game out here telling me I'm not alone. Like I'm not alone. This game gotta get with the times, man. You want to see the cat? Sure. Wait. I don't. I guess so. I guess I want to, so I'll keep spamming this. Oh my god, it gave us a cat. It actually gave us a cat. Deft, look, it made a cat for us. This game is so peak. I know. It really said you're not alone, and it's like, hey, you wanna see a cat? And I'm like, yeah, sure. That is bright. I'm just gonna be lasering like everything now. No new message? Alright. I have a feeling there might be a goose hidden on the world edge or something. It's the type of thing that game devs love to do. How many bats can I spam? Well, I'm at the edge of the world, eh? I'm at the edge. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, oh, 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 'cause I'm on top of the world, hey, I'm on top of the world, hey, been here for a while now, take my name to the curb, I've been waiting to smile, hey, holding it for a while, hey. Been waiting for this as a child. I found a crab. think that means that I found him. He gave me a little audio cue. Oh. So another animal found. So we also found the bat and that other one. Been holding it in for. So now I wonder, what else is there? Also, where's the goose? Ooh. Okay, 25 million dots. Yep. Goose, 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 goose. Looks like a skull. That rock. I found one. I knew there was gonna be one here. I got the audio cue. What do you mean 8? Is that how many animals I found? Is that what it's telling me? If I found the goose, does it tell me more? Tell me something magical. Oh, I thought there was something there. Ugh. Ambient horror is definitely this game's strong suit. I just don't like existing on the maps. But I need the secrets. I need to find the goose. No new message. Thank you. Is it the Skull Rock? No, it's a pirate ship. And yay! What is this? Is the goose on here? Is it hiding? I don't think so. Goose. Grunge goose. What is grunge? I know it's a music genre, I just forget what it is. What kind of music? Guren. How does that one go? I don't remember how the Demon Slayer opening goes. I could just leave now. Are you kidding? I missed like 3 spots on that. Just toss it over and it doesn't hit. Alright. Let's go. I actually have to go back. Maybe. Oh my god, I got it from here. I'm so good. I'm literally LeBron. Ah, click, 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 clack, click, clack. Did my English project upload properly? It's the question I ask myself every day. Not really. I just hope it uploaded. Where's the goose, though? I've up out here cleared, like, almost everything. Where's this goose? Is it sitting in your maw? We've gotten it. That's 6 out of 6. Where's this goose? What have I not explored? Over this way. Goose. Oh, this golden goose. I think that, yeah, it said that I had a 1 out of 8. Which means there are still 7 to find, but I can't seem to find any. Is there one in here? Like one in the shop? I don't think so. Yeah, no, I can walk in here. There's no goose. Over by the crab, is there a goose? There's also not one in here. Where's the goose? Hello, little goosey. Little goosey, come on, where are you? No need to hide, I will not hunt you down. I will be good man. I will be very good man. I will not turn you into poultry. I will turn you into friend. You will be my friend. Little goosey, where did you go? There seems to be a mouse in my oven. We are going on a trip to a place called... And these ones don't turn one solid color. So I could solidify. What if I send a bird through here? Alright, I don't see it. Unless. CT shower time, little juice fine. Climb aboard. There's nowhere to explore. You are mine tonight. Should we try it out, that other one? I don't believe we found all the animals. I gotta find all the animals. Oh, or is the map just slowly going away? Because I remember doing this one. No, it's not going away. Or maybe it is. Oh, does the dark blue go away first? Yeah, because I don't see that message anymore. So where's the exit? I will look for these with a guide later on. Why am I stuck? Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Oh. Oh, we are free. That was very scary. What are you? And then up here we have nothing, and then over. This mighty fine gazebo. Ay, island. We have found 2 animals. I just launched 200 bats. I will do some hunting later on. Let me get Red Finger running. Oh, that music is so good. Yeah, I think we'll stop. You ready? Boom. Red Finger. We get nice ambience now. And I hope we get a voiceover, that'd be fun. Like Holly? Never mind. Your application for the position at the scientific complex has been approved. Congratulations! Starting tomorrow, you will begin your work here. Rest assured, your work in our facility is completely safe. Please sign below to acknowledge the safety protocols, as we cannot provide the details for you to read. There is no need. Additionally, we apologize for any inconvenience caused by the elevator. It seems there are some issues with the buttons, so you may need to hold them down to activate the elevator. Press space to sign the safety protocol. I like the way he does this. Oh, hand. Deft. We got White Knuckle inspired game. Very cool, very fun. I also have to change the game. Let me. Ah, uh, uh, uh. Perfect. We are now playing Red Finger. This is true. Elevator. Oh, okay. This is a 3 kilogram button. Hold it to move the elevator. What is this? This is a rubber goose, not a duck. this is amazing. Very cold and refreshing water. Hold the switch off the light. It might come in handy. Ooh, I don't like that. Geese eccentric game study? Yeah. Well, I mean, they're both made by the same guy. The guy that made Red Finger here, was the same one that made Lidar. So I'm gonna be having fun. Alright, where to first? Come on, we got this, we got this. Is this like a how far... Why is it going down so fast? Oh no, no, it's just the numbers going down fast. Oh. Oh, I have hand stamina. Oh, I get it now. Very refreshing. Because 3 kilogram button, I'm pretty sure. You know, that's heavy. See, my hand's kind of red and it's shaky. But now I gotta go cool it off. And I gotta put it back on the button. Squid Games! It's the Squid Game people! Good luck, Goose. Alright, G1. Oh, it's a code. Maybe use more than your finger. Just saying. Yeah. Maybe use a little. Okay, G1 is 509472. Oh, so this must be randomized. Do I just go back now? It really wants me to come back. I think it misses me. Goodbye. This looks very similar to the other elevator. Does this take stamina as well? No. Let's cool it off. Maybe I have to use the goose to scare things off. What? That was terrifying. My heart rate just... well... That was a dinosaur, but that was scary. No, not friend. Why would you think friend? That does not... that is... It's friend-shaped. It does not mean friend. That's an I'm gonna eat you type of friend. We don't like the I'm gonna eat you type of friend. You very slowly going back up. Are you kidding me? The thing is very slowly going back up. Nope, not anymore. 8. See how quick I was with it, though? What do you mean good luck on the 3 kilogram elevator? This game is so goofy. G6, no, M6. 430912. Alright, we got this. How far down can you go? Like, is it... I wonder if it's just like general pit stops or if there's like an actual depth that you can reach, because I'm already at what now? 124. And then there's gonna be a thing that we have to scare off with a duck, and we don't. Alright. Kizuna Eye. Gotta cool off my finger specifically. Now that I'm nice and blue. Alright, what's the code this time? C9. C9 is 730165. I'm getting faster. We got this. We had one encounter with a very odd friend earlier. Just one small encounter. Right, show me. What's ahead? What's ahead? What's ahead? Oh? This is very stressful. Something on the walls. Hey. I wonder, I don't want to risk it because I'm already so far down. Maybe if we beat this... Oh, that does take stamina. Oh, and I had run out just in time. Oh, that could have been bad. Great reminder, you gotta clean your screen. Does your screen look like the game? Is that why? Are you a dirty little gremlin? Um, nom, 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 nom. And you see some stains? No. Why are there stains on your monitor? That's what I'm wondering. Like, above all else, why are there stains on your monitor? How do you get stains on your monitor? Like, aside from the very singular dead pixel that's on my screen, there's not much else of a problem. Oh, do I got about 19? Seems that I got about 20 seconds. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Go, 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 go. Alright. Okay, now I'm trying to think about this, right? You say it happens while you're eating? But I'm very confused by that. Because I just had a full meal right here. And I don't know if you've seen my setup, but it is, like, atrociously small. I have the monitor, mouse, and keyboard, and that is it. Literally like a small rectangle. So, and there's nothing wrong with my screen, so I'm like wondering how you managed to get food on it. I'm just not gonna question it. Stop gooning. That's all I gotta say. Hardcore gooner out here. What happens if I... Huh. What happens if I goose the dinosaur? We made it back. It's very tiring. You know, this makes me want to have some water. Congratulations on successfully completing your work day. See you tomorrow. Oh no, you've quit? How could this happen? A game made by Ken Forrest in 72 hours for Ludum Dare 57. I like that. Very fun game. Okay, let's do this one more time. I just want to see what happens. We were the red finger all along. Yeah, we were the red finger all along. I was really hoping that there would be like a sprint button or something. I just really want to see what happens. I want to see if there's a kill animation or something like that. This is a rubber goose, not a duck. Are you... Oh, why? It doesn't make any sense. Is there an in-game achievement for clicking the thing 1,000 times? Okay, so it's good to know. Is the first one supposed to be this free? I don't think so. Oh, G1. Okay, so they're not randomized. Give me the code. 509472. Or goaded. Man, my hand is like uber red. Washing off my singular finger. Like a car? No. Man, Cars was a good movie. It's a very good movie. So now I would assume. Hey. Oh. Oh, that's it. It just doesn't bite you? Wait. What? 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 What happened? Did I fall into limbo? What's going on? Can it... Does it just reset me? Oh, I think it does. And I don't think you can get past it either. You don't see me. This is not a 3 kilogram power button either. I don't know, I don't like that. Yeah, he was just surprised. He looked at me and went, huh? Like there's absolutely nothing going on. It said I didn't even deserve to die. Just move the whole cart back up. I don't get that. Oh yeah, there's one more thing. This is a... They don't only hear... Ooh, that'd be fun to play with... Okay, there was like one thing here. I forget. Is this... Give me just a second. Alright, let's keep going. Deft. I found this game. I don't know if it's... I believe it's Steam pages still. It's called Panic Chord. It looks very interesting. Because it is a, it's a multiplayer survival game where the monster... I don't know, I thought it was very interesting, because the monsters would be able to both hear you like hear both your footsteps and your voice, which I found to be very interesting. 430912. I don't know, I just Panic Core, yeah. Panicore. And then another thing, to test at the very bottom, since I know that it has that countdown, I wonder if it just blows up or if the trolley leaves without you. That's what I want to know as well. And then here, bro's gonna be bothered again. No? It's a very unique game though. I do like it. Just the idea. So I gotta clean my hands. It's a bit sore. You stand right here, you can access everything. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one's 50, 49, right? 730165. I just thought it looked interesting. It might be fun to play. Two, three, four, five. Is it at 200 that he appears? Yep, it is. How's it going? You can still kind of go down, even if your hand's maxed. What am I doing tomorrow? Tomorrow, not much. I am allowed to stream twice a week though now, which is like as long as I stay on top of everything. But considering the fact that it's finals, I think will be good. I think it should be on as long as you're like right there. I don't really have. I don't feel like studying for finals. I'll be fine. I have a study guide that I can do for history, but that's about it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, it's a sludge. Oh, the sludge rises. Can you even see it from down there? No, you can't. Okay. Okay, so there's no more sludge. I don't think. Oh, it's model position relative to your hand. Yeah. Why is it moving so fast? Why is it moving so fast? Why is it so fast? Thank God this thing is faster, but why is it so fast? I don't think the mass should be that fast. Oh, that's why he didn't want to do this anymore. Oh, you couldn't already. Why would you do that? Dog, do you not see what's below you? You gotta stick here, and then you're like, yep, this is fine. Let me just... Let me acclimate to the mass that is below me. Dog, what? All I gotta know is, who dis... Why is... Why is the mass? Just why is it? And why is it transparent? Why do they feed it so much water? I think I'll have one art stream and then one game. A very fun game stream. I don't know. Or maybe 2 games. I don't know how often I can do art. I could work on banners for people. That'd be fun. Congratulations on successfully completing your workday. See you tomorrow. Oh no, you've quit? How could this happen? A game made by Ken Forrest in 72 hours for yeah, Ludum Dare in 57. That is fun. I did enjoy that. Yeah, Deft, I just peeked the chat. What are you talking about? What do you mean get out the game? I'm very confused. Wait. Is it an actual game? Oh my god, it is. What is this? Oh. Oh, interesting. I did not know that. I'm like kind of dude. I saw one reel about Bella Ciao, and now it's kind of all I listen to. Not really. It's stuck in my head though. I don't like that. Bass kind of like Left 4 Dead. Yeah, with the mic thing. Yeah, I noticed that. Ooh, there's also Voices of the Void. Who made this one? I don't remember. Voices of the Void is a very odd game. Is he too much? Noise? Yeah. Should I? I need to finish a number of games. There's so many games that I have that I just haven't. I have to play Fragmented Minds, Inmost, Forgive Me, Father, Atone. I was thinking about just having a little day where I play, like, demos. I have to find a bunch of demos, and then I'll just play them all. That's one, two, three. Three demos. I gotta find more. Random things, just a bunch of random different things to play. You know what? Let's get some nice ambience in here. Let's just... A game that I think has probably some of the best ambience is a little game called Islanders. Uh, I think, okay, Deft. Here's the thing, right? If I invited you to play, um, if I invited you to play Panic Core, would you use your mic? Is the real question. Because I know you're not one to use mics and all that, so I'm just wondering if that's a thing that you'd be willing to do. What? Huh? Boom. Works everywhere. Do you have like Bluetooth earbuds or something like that? I just want to know, like, do you have Bluetooth earbuds or something? No, you don't. Okay, that's what I use for my mic. I don't know if it sounds kind of scuffed, then it probably is. Welcome to Islanders. I kind of want to make like this. Oh, the lights turned on. Oh wait, that's so cool. Oh, even the wall has lights. Oh, partigiano, it's mi vida. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao. We should get a circus in here. One circus? No, two circus. And then the Oasis Resort. I think we can put one out, like, right here. And then in front of it, we... Life has been pretty good recently. I'm happy with how everything's been going. The week especially. The week's been actively just amazing. Professor Compagna. Stand and stop, bro. Oh, but ciao. A brewery can go like right outside the wall. A couple of hop fields. It's a very calming game. Dude, I love this. I'm gonna be so honest. I bought this game on a whim. Yo, Luigi, how's it going? We played Lidar and then some Red Finger. Very fun games. I enjoyed them. One of them was made very quickly. Yeah, you missed the not white knuckle. Looks good. It was okay. The not white knuckle was actually very fun. I'm gonna be like 1,000% honest with you. That was a very fun game. Over here we want like a little bit of a so maybe like a couple of fishermen. Alright, we have you right there as well. Perfect. And then there's also, where are the mills? Sand mills. Do we have any sand? Sand. Nope. No sand pits. Where are the stonemasons? Oh, there it is. Yeah, not white knuckle was very fun. Yeah, the pointer dot. Yeah, same dev. Just jumped over hurdle with a white knuckle video. Ooh. Ooh, how's the video going? I'm excited. I'm dying. I want to see it. Shove them all. In a relatively similar area. And then we can hit it with a plant. We can hit it with one of these. Nope. They need to be higher. Water plateau. Other water plateau. Third water plateau. Fourth water. Nah, fifth. Why are you made of wood? And then we can have these here. Few possible edits on my drop. One dense bit I just got clips for a few minutes ago. A small quality like an outro. I don't know about an outro. Yeah. The dense editor is the biggest thing left. I mean, hey, at least you're almost done. Right? That's what matters. Where do I put you? You go by. Get out of here. Get out. Get out. Ew. Ew. Give me the... There we go. What's our cumpleaños? 1, 2, 3, 4. Gone. Perfect. And then we'll have it as if... Let's grab a tower from over here. monument. We're gonna make this look like uber official. Throw 1, 2, 3 balloons down. And then up here, since there's kind of balloons everywhere, we're gonna get rid of you. I want something special where every balloon is. Because these are like transport balloons, and up here we've already got 2 stops. And then what are we going for? There we go, a warehouse. Right, like warehouse 1, warehouse 2, number 3, and number 4. And then we can throw a platform here, another one here, third one right here. Perfect. That's also just not right. Wait, no, now we need a monument here and a monument here. These are our 2 drop sites. It's 1 balloon, 2 balloon. Which means that we can actually get rid of these. And then mansions. It's gonna be like, it's like a West Egg in The Great Gatsby. It's gonna be full of locations. Both far and wide. There's actually a very unique feature where, if 2 pieces are like very close together, like, let me show you. I think one of the biggest examples is probably with a water platform. I don't have. Oh yeah, why did your mod badge go away? I don't have channel points either. What? Are we being for real? I don't... Yeah, no, that's... No, okay. That's what I was saying before. About the channel points thing. That's not real. I'm pretty sure that's just a thing that it shows to everybody. And I don't know why it does that. Yeah, I know. I just checked the Discord. That's not real. I don't have access to channel points. The city is coming together quite well. I think we want a rich people district right over here. Gonna go with, yes, the jeweler right next to the market. We basically own the market now. We're gonna zoom in, grab a gold mine. Wrong. We're gonna put a... Something that I've always wanted to do is just put the gold mines right on top of each other. But in the actual game, in high score mode, it doesn't let you, so... Ooh, that looks good! Look at it! Now there's 2 little claws. They just go. Fields, we already have mill, brewery. Let's drop a tavern down right here. And another one for the rich people right here. Yep, we already got to do the, albeit too much seaweed. And then now for just a bit more. Just a little bit more. Back on laptop, good to hear. going on? We've got an island. A very custom island at that. Oh, Bella Ciao. Where was it? It was the farms. No, these things. Where's the lake ones? Come on. Where are the lakes? I want one like that. Nope, and I just... Oh. Yay, I got lakes. Oh, boom. I kind of want a second lake. Now to purge all of these other parks. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then I think we just, yeah, like just throw down a tower. You have a park, you get a couple of the long ones. And then, yeah. I wonder if it waits. Where am I? I'm on an island. No, wait. No, my stuff didn't load. Oh man. Oh man, that sucks. I said it's saved. Oh well, I'll just make it again later. That's so sad though. Alright then, hi Diddy. Yeah, I was literally about to hop off. We like just hit 3 hours. I've got it's 10 p.m. Daddy, do you legally adopt Luigio? I gotta know, because if so, then that means that he can legally assault me. Okay. Yeah, it is late. You should go to bed. Daddy, is that how that works? Is Luigio my brother now? Am I cooked? No! No! Ah! No! Oh no. No. I'm gonna get a... Oh, thank God. Alright. I was also gonna end stream. I might just play games though for the next like hours. What to do, what to do. Alright, that was fun though, I enjoyed that. Okay, wait, the ambience? Maybe, I don't know. Alright. I still need to make a talking screen. That's what I need to work on. That, the end screen, blah 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 blah. I have so much to do. Wait, Daddy, do you want to see my starting scene screen? I did a thing. It's very fun, except it like won't capture any audio. Alright, so that means I will be getting off. I don't know, thanks for coming to watch the show, I had fun. I will most likely be working on art the next time, finishing up an end screen. Memento Mori, have a great rest of your day, and here it is.